Well, I got scammed, and I'm not really too proud to say that, but here we are. I lost $1,500 and my dream car. Now, this isn't a typical video that I do. I'm typically working on a car, trying to get something to run. But if you like these stories, if you like me kind of recounting things that I've had happen in my life that you want to hear more about, then leave a like down below. Subscribe, leave a comment, tell me about it. What would you like to hear? Now, this story is going to be a little bit more recent than a lot of stories that I may tell. And this one was on July 7th of this year. So it was really fresh on my mind, and I'm still a little bit upset about it, but I'm going to tell you guys a story anyway, so you can kind of be on the lookout for any kind of scams that may affect you, so you don't get into the same situation that I'm in right now. Now, I want to preface why this car is my dream car. It's a 1971 to 72 Dodge Demon. And this car was something that I've always wanted to build because I've always liked dark sports. I've always liked Dusters, but I've never had a Demon. And it started back when I was 10 years old. I bought my first car, a 1974 Dodge Dart Sport, 318, automatic, center console, bucket seats, power steering, power brakes, had disc brakes on the front, big bolt pattern. It was top of the line for what it was. Now, I bought this when I was 10 years old by borrowing $600 from my grandmother. So she gave me the money, and the caveat was that you would work it off over however long it takes. So every time she needed the grass cut, every time she needed help with the yard, or moving a bush here to there, or cleaning up something, or doing whatever the case may be, she would take a little notepad and write down, all right, there's 20 more bucks off, there's 40 more bucks off, until I eventually was able to work it off and pay off the whole thing in full. And it taught me a lot. I learned how to, work for what you wanted, and also how to work on cars. I learned a lot from my dad. He showed me how to, do engine and transmission. We put one of those in the car. We put a 318 back in it. We put all new brakes on it. Well, he really did all the work. I just watched because I didn't know what I was doing at that point. But I learned a lot with this car, and I had a special connection with this car.
That's not good.
So I sold it when I was 17 years old, right? Which is a smart thing to do when you have no money, is sell your first car. And it hurt me. It really did, and I was heartbroken for a long time. But thankfully, I was able to buy it back. But that's a whole different story in itself, and I can tell that if you ever wanted it in a separate video. Now, on the car we're talking about, started on July 7th at 4:14 p.m. So I got a message from a friend through Instagram sending me a Facebook link, and I open it up, and that's where I see it. I'm in a Dodge Demon group looking at this 71 Dodge Demon for sale, and it's a nice looking car. It's got some rust in it, some light surface rust, but you know that I don't care about any of that kind of stuff, so it's fine by me. It looked fairly solid. Looked through the pictures. I noticed that it was a 3-pedal car, had a manual shift in the floor, and that was really what kind of turned up my interest on this thing. It had been posted 14 hours ago. A few people had commented on it, asked about it, saying they sent messages and stuff like that. The guy who was actually selling the car responded to a comment saying that he was asking $1,500 for it. And I thought, that's got to be a typo. It can't be real. And it's probably already gone at this point anyway if it's that price. But I messaged him anyway. I went ahead and sent him a message. And that's where old Harold Smith comes into play. I sent him a message July 7th at 4:14 p.m. I said, hey, just saw your ad for the Demon. Has it been sold yet? He said, no. I said, is it a 6-cylinder car? Looks like a 3-speed? Because typically a lot of these cars came with a 6-cylinder automatic or a 3-speed, because the 3-speed is base model option, not a 4-speed or an automatic. Those two were options. He said, no, it's a V8. I thought, uh-oh, I'm in trouble now because I really want this car. I said, what's your price on it? And then he said, I've told 4 guys to bring me $1,500. So that $15,000, it's not a typo. I said, any major rust issues? I know floors are always first to go, but not hard to fix. He said, no sir, floors are actually solid. So I sent him a message, hey, give me a call. I want to talk to you about it. Will do. I said, appreciate it. I could be there Friday if you're available. I'm about 4.5 hours out. He says, okay, if it's still available by then, I'll PM you and let you know. And that's what kind of drew me in, was this guy's not pushing to sell it to me. He's not trying to get money out of me. So that's why I was really kind of thinking, man, this guy's legit. This is a legit car for sale. And that's what's going through my head whenever I said, well, if you take it, I'd even put a down payment on it before Friday if you'd hold it. He says, I'll call you here shortly. I said, yes, sir, appreciate it. We played phone tag for a little bit. We finally got together, and I asked him questions about the car. I said, is it a manual car? Looks like a 3-speed. He said, yeah, it's a 3-speed on the floor. We talked about the floor pans. He said, yeah, it's very solid underneath. It actually looks really good. I said, so how about the trunk floor? He said, the trunk floor is actually really nice too. It's a good looking car. So I said, well, how did you end up with this thing? Where did you get it? He says, well, I got it in on trade a few months ago, and I just haven't done anything with it. I want to sell it. It's just been sitting here. I never got it to run, so I didn't want to mess with it. I said, well, what kind of engine is in it? He says, I'm pretty sure it's a 318. I said, okay, is it a 2-barrel or 4-barrel? He said, it's a 2-barrel. So I thought, man, this thing has to be all original if that's the case. Somebody hasn't messed with this car yet. I thought, but why is it so nice looking? You know what I mean? Like, it just looked really good from the outside. So we kept talking, and he's answering me these questions that only somebody who would have a 71 Dodge Demon sitting in front of them would really know, unless they did their research. And that's what kind of like comforted me and made me realize, man, this guy is legit. You know, it's something that's a real deal here. We've got a car that is for sale that actually is for sale. And I even went and looked. I checked his profile picture. I did a reverse image search on it. I checked to make sure that nothing would pop up, and nothing did. I didn't see anything show up for a reverse image search. I even did that with every picture that he posted of the car, and not a single one popped up for a reverse image search. And that's what was concerning to me. I'm like, this guy's got to be legit. If this is not popping up anywhere else on the internet, then surely he took these pictures on his own. So we agreed that I would pay half up front for him to hold it until I could come pick the car up on Friday. He says, my wife said if you had PayPal, I could shoot you an invoice through here and that it would let you pay with PayPal. I said, yes, sir, that'll work. I don't know if it'll take out a fee with an invoice or not. I know if I just send it to the email, I can choose no fee. Don't want you to lose any money on the transaction. So I'm really making it easy on this guy, because what PayPal does is that you can send money to somebody 2 different ways. You can have friends and family, where it doesn't take a fee out, or goods and services, which will take a fee out on the seller's end to kind of cover any insurance in case something does happen to the product, or I wasn't satisfied with it, or it wasn't delivered at all. That just kind of provides insurance. And I sent it as friends and family because we struggled to get it to work through Facebook, which this should have been a sign, because he sent a request through Facebook and his wife helped him do it. I don't know how it all, I don't know what his thing was, what he was saying, but it made it all look kind of scammy at that point whenever he started sending a link through Facebook. But I didn't question it because I was blind with love with this demon. Facebook's like, hey man, don't be sending money to this guy because it said it won't send it because it called itself unusual activity. The payment was not sent. And I said, I've never used Facebook Pay before. He says, neither have I. Would you happen to have Cash App or Venmo? Now, what's this old guy going to be using Cash App or Venmo for if he's got PayPal? He sent me his email, and I'm thinking, okay, this will work, which his email is his name. But I'm also like, why would he have an email in his name if his wife is the one that's working it? Wouldn't it be going through his wife's email? So again, still blinded with love. I sent him $750, friends and family, no buyer fee, nothing. And he got it. I said, would Friday or Saturday be better for you? He said, either or, whatever day is comfortable with you. I said, okay, I will let you know, because I had a friend that was wanting to go with me. Cole Smart ended up riding with me and helping me out. And a little bit later, he says, hey, I'll make a deal with you. If you can clear the balance on the car, I'll take off $150. So that would leave the balance at $600. Have a few things I need to take care of tomorrow and needed the cash to help out. That's a big red flag. But guess what? Dylan didn't see these red flags. Dylan was just blinded with the hope that, hey, he's about to get a Dodge Demon for the first time. Because whenever I talked to the guy, his profile picture sounded like what he would sound like. His voice matched. We talked. I was comfortable with sending this guy money. Everything seemed legit. So I sent him $600. And I said, hey, do you care to send me some pictures of under the hood and the trunk? He said, yes, sir. I'll take them first thing in the morning. Because this is like 9:30 in his time zone at this point. So we agree on that and go to bed, get up the next morning. It is about 10:30 at this point. I said, going to come pick the car up tomorrow. Did you happen to get any pictures? and what's your address? He sends me this address, and that's really kind of what irritated me a lot, was that he was willing to send me to this address and not even care, just take my money. He says, we're getting some rain today, and as soon as it stops, I'll get you some pictures under the hood. Which makes sense because we were having some rain that afternoon as well, because the weather where we're at is moving northeast, and he just so happened to kind of be southeast from me, but we're having storms all the way across the whole south at this point. So we're getting rain, he's getting rain. It made total sense to me that he was having some bad weather. Didn't question it. I said, okay, thanks. Looks like I'm actually 5.5 hours from there. Is it on the edge of a lake? He said, yep, Lake Hartwell. We're also close by the South Carolina line. It all makes sense. I looked up his address. There's a house there. Everything was lining up to what I think was going to be a legit deal. So I messaged him a little bit later. I said, hey, planning to drive in tonight, pick the car up in the morning. Me and Cole had talked about it. Instead of driving 12 hours in one day, we'll drive 6 hours one, and then turn around and come back the next day and drive 6 hours back. How early can I pick the car up in the morning? He says, I'll be up around 6 a.m. Eastern. This dude is not giving me one hint of any idea that he is going to take my money. I said, okay, I'll keep you updated. So I messaged him a little bit later that afternoon. Did the weather ever clear up your way? Asking him about more pictures. I said, also, if you don't mind, grab a picture of the VIN on the dash. This is where I start to get nervous. He doesn't message me back, but we still go. I tell Cole all this. I called him and I said, hey, I don't feel very comfortable right now about what's going on, because I was on my way to borrow the trailer from my friend Logan Jolly. And he says, well, it's okay. You've already paid for it. Let's just go ahead and go, and we'll figure it out on the way. So that's exactly what we did. I go get his trailer. We go pick up Cole, and we're heading out. We're driving on the interstate. I'm telling Cole the whole story, let him look through the messages. And at that point, he starts to kind of get a little nervous. But we're like, well, let's just keep going. We'll try it. And if nothing happens, then nothing happens. So I still try to message him. I messaged him a little bit later. I said, hey man, I don't know about driving out there that far without a picture of the VIN or anything else. Can you please call me back? He will not call me. He will not message me. I tried calling him on my cell phone. I was texting him at that number we talked on. He would not answer me. So we drive about an hour and a half, and we stop to eat in Jasper, Tennessee at this place called a Western Sizzling, which is very good if you haven't been. Not sponsored, but you guys pretty much saved the whole trip. Now it's about closing time. It's probably 8 o'clock at this point. They close at 8:30, so we get some food to go. And while we're sitting there waiting for our food to come out, Cole is a big dirt track racer. He races late models all across the southeast, runs Talladega and all sorts of stuff. Now, he's got some friends who live near Hartwell because there's a dirt track that is kind of in that area. So he sends out a Facebook post and says, hey, anybody in this area, could they be willing to do a favor for me? And one guy's like, yeah, I'm not far from there. I can help you out. I was willing to pay him to go to this address and see if anybody was there. And it never worked out. But then another guy commented and said, well, if it's about a 58 Impala, then it's a scam. What? You mean there's a scam in Hartwell, Georgia that's also for another car? So Cole private messages him and says, what's the deal? And he says, I talked to this guy on the phone. Things didn't really add up. Something sounded fishy, and I ended up not going to buy it. So he said, well, what was the guy's name? Harold Smith. What was the guy's number? Sends the exact same phone number. At that point was the breakthrough. Cole and I realized this is not legit. This is a scam. It's over. We're done for. We retreat to the truck with food in hand and eat dinner on the tailgate of the truck. I had a magnificent Philly cheesesteak with fries and mozzarella cheese sticks, and that is the only thing that got me through that trip. It saved my life that night, was that Philly cheesesteak. And we're sitting there calling people, telling them, hey, this is what happened. Calling Dad, telling him, hey, we got scammed. This is just how it is. And I'm more upset about the fact I didn't get the car than I am the money, because I really wanted this car. This is one that I've wanted for a long time. And I did lose the money, but I was still just really kind of bummed out that I didn't get the car. It wasn't tangible. It wasn't a real thing. So we turn around, tuck tail, and drive back home. So I decided I'm going to mess with old Harold on the way back, and I sent him a message about 9 o'clock, which is 10 o'clock his time, which is around the time we were supposed to be kind of rolling in there. I said, we're making pretty good time, probably 15 minutes out. Are you home? He doesn't respond, doesn't read my message or anything. I said, which house is it? acting like I'm there, just trying to kind of poke him and prod him and see if there's any kind of information I can get out of him. And the next morning I text him back. I said, what time can I come in the morning? He doesn't respond to any of it. So I called a friend of mine, Trent Sloan, and asked him, what should I do? Because he's really big into selling stuff online with eBay. He does a lot of things with PayPal. And he told me that if I didn't do it goods and services, then I'm pretty much out of luck. I thought, well, great. I didn't do it goods and services. I did it friends and family, so he wouldn't lose any money. So I'm basically up the creek with no chance of ever getting my money back. So I lost $1,350 on the car, $150 in gas and food in my time, insanity. So I'm sitting there thinking there's no way I can actually get this money back. But thankfully, PayPal has this thing where you can actually dispute this. If you ever send money, regardless, you can still dispute it. And I did that. And the next day, I got an email saying, hey, we're reviewing your case. We're going to see what we can do. So I'm on pins and needles. I'm really nervous. I'm like, I really just would like to have something in this situation where I win one thing. So I'm sitting there waiting, and finally, I get an email. PayPal is going to refund your money for the full amount on both sides. The $600 that I spent and the $750 I spent for the total of $1,350. And sure enough, a couple days later, it shows up back in my bank account. All is well in the world. And the only downside of this whole situation is, well, one, I didn't get the car of my dreams. And two, now every time I send a link to any kind of car for sale to my buddies, they all make fun of me. They say, is this one real? Is this going to be a legit car or not this time, Dylan? We don't know. What do you think? So now I have to live with that for the rest of my life, but I learned a valuable lesson. Don't get so wrapped up in any kind of vehicle or any kind of transaction to where you don't really trust your gut on a situation. I knew that something was up whenever he asked me to send the full amount for some money that he had to do that weekend. I mean, that didn't sound right. But I was just, again, I was blinded by that. I was just so forward thinking about getting that car, getting it home, that I would do anything, that whatever it takes. I wanted it so bad. Because I've been looking for years at this point. I'm still looking. And it just didn't work out. And unfortunately, I ended up without my dream car, Demon. And I'm sitting here telling you guys all about this story. So learn from my mistakes. Learn that you shouldn't do what I do. Learn that there are people out in this world who don't have your best interest at heart. That's why you always got to keep your best interest at heart and make sure that you're looking out for yourself, especially when you're dealing with these kind of transactions. Now, to wrap all this stuff up, I will tell you that there is something going on that is not a scam. That is a legit, real deal of a car that I'm giving away that Hemmings is helping out on. We've got Summit Racing and Rock Auto teaming up with us, and Coker Tire to help us get tires for a 77 Ford Thunderbird that we're giving away. And I'm doing work on it currently. It's sitting right over here. I'm looking at it right now, getting it ready to give away to one lucky person. Now, I want to hear your story. I want to know about what you have that you think is your story is worthy of winning the car. Go down the link below. I'm doing a giveaway with it. We're going to give it away free of charge. It'll have a gas tank, brakes, running and driving, and I'm buffing the paint on this one for once in my life. I'm actually trying to clean up the paint. So it's actually a good looking car. I'm excited about it, and I hope you guys are too. So make sure you go down, enter to win for that, and we will do our best to kind of keep our eyes vigilant and make sure we don't get scammed again. But if you like this video, please leave a like down below. Questions, comments, leave it, subscribe, don't forget that. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.